Hi everybody, it's April. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. I wanted to share with you some cards I made using the My Monthly Hero July kit. This was my favorite one so far this year. So I'm using the two colored cardstocks that came in the kit and adding some of my own. There's a Lawn Fawn wood grain and a couple MFT cardstocks in there. I'm going to use the inks that came in the kit and the blue pearl embossing powder. So if you're interested in any ideas on this kit, most of them are masculine cards. That was kind of my theme. Then just keep watching. We're going to get started with stamping some of the images in the kit. I'm using the grass and the cattails, the goose and some of the ducks. I guess it's a goose. And then also the little blue bass that I did here, I wound up not using, but I might do a part 2 of this kit. And if so, he will be making a feature in that one. Anyhow, so I'm just using the inks that came in the kit, the browns, and I think there was only one green. So I did bring in some distress inks, just regular distress inks, my little mini cubes to help me give a little bit of a gradient to some of these images. So for example, the green here, I'm using there are two greens, I apologize. So I'm using the two greens that came in the kit, but then at other times I'll bring in my forest moss, I think it's called, in distress ink, just a little bit of a darker tone green. So, and then there you can see I kind of used one of the browns on the cattail end as well while I was stamping. So here I'm using the trees and kind of layering these up using the same concept. The two greens that came in the kit, and then I'll also bring in some distress ink for a darker shade. And I encourage you to do that with any inks that you have. You know, if you just want a darker tone when you're doing layering, it's, you know, really good to just pull in other inks and mix them together. It's not going to hurt anything. They're all dye inks. So yeah, so that's it. I'm going to do this with quite a few of the images. I'll play some music. If you have any questions about inks I'm using or anything like that, please let me know in the description, and I will be more than happy to answer those questions and help you out. so we're going to get started on card 1. I had created some ink blended panels off camera. I did film it, but it was just too time consuming, so I cut that part out. I'm just using some blue shades on this card panel to make a background. I'm going to lay out the distance between the tree line and the dock to stamp these waterline images that came in the kit, just to give the impression of movement in the water. And so then I'm going to basically just take some Gina K glue and adhere all of these flat to the card panel. All of my card panels are A2 size cards, so the card panel itself, they're 5.5 by 4.25. In case you're wondering, that's the majority of the time what I use for my cards. I'm going to take the mountains that I stamped and the tree line, attach them together, and then get them adhered to the card base or the card panel. And I was kind of, as I was doing these, I thought about really you could do any shade on the mountains, on the trees. You know, this is card making, so if you wanted purple trees, you know, I'm sure there's purple trees somewhere in the world, especially with fall coming, they turn all kinds of shades. So same thing with the mountaintops. You know, a lot of times you get reflections in the sky that can turn, you know, make like for example here we have the blue mountains. You know, it's what we're referred to as the blue mountains because you just get this blue mist all over the mountains and they're just gorgeous. So you will see the blue mountains that I did in this video. But just the point is that you could do any shades that you wanted on, you know, kind of matching. And you'll see that on one of my cards that, you know, I just went with pink water. So, you know, be creative, do whatever you want. Now, while I'm attaching these little birds, let me mention that I stamped those 2 little black birds, like just silhouette birds, and got an ink smudge down by that duck. I don't know how, but I did. It must have been on my finger. So I just used another duck to cover that smudge up, like right behind him. You can see that black staining. So, you know, don't panic when things like that happen. There's always a way to cover up, you know, ink smudges. I couldn't find my Tombow mono eraser, but even that I don't think would have taken this big smudge out. But the little duck covered quite a bit of it, so just wanted to mention that's why we added another one. So then I'm going to take my Jelly Roll pen, go around and add some dots to the eyes of these little birds just to give them a little character. And also I wanted to mention when I was tucking those little grasses behind the dock, I had to cut them off because I forgot to hurry up and put them down before that dock dried onto the card panel. So anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and add some clear Nuvo drops into the water, just adding some droplets around. And so just a little, you know, kind of a little extra touch there. Oh, I guess I added a couple in the sky too. I have a still image here of the card in just a moment. Okay, so on card 2, we are going to get started. I had stamped and colored some of these. What they look like on the stamp set was like buoy lines that would be out, you know, say at summer camp when you have those buoy markers to tell you where you can swim to and how far. So I just cut and colored 4 of those, and then I took some vellum and I heat embossed, it was like a dark green colored cardstock. I heat embossed this fisherman with his dog and the bass, and I did that on top of some vellum, or I glued it on top of some vellum. And then I just took some ink and highlighted and kind of wanted to grunge it up. I'm going to take a black Copic or a brown Copic marker here and just touch up those white edges. And then after this, I made a huge mistake. I really wasn't liking the way these were looking, so I thought, oh, let me add some brown. It's not Nuvo, it's by Ranger, but it's kind of like Nuvo drops. And I'm just adding it on the ropes, thinking, oh, it'll make it look more like a rope, you know, and give it some dimension. But it really turned out horrible. So I'm basically just showing you this to show you what my original idea was for this card, and it turned into something completely different. So after this, I, you know, kind of waited a minute. I cut all of that off. I removed the vellum from what I had it on, and I just took a little tool here and rolled up the edges. I thought, you know what? I'm not going to throw this away. I really, really did like the images stamped on that vellum. and the embossing. I just like the look of it, like a silhouette. And I really, really liked it on the vellum. So I didn't want to get rid of it. I'm just going to add some more distressing to it so it looks really vintage and like maybe like an old piece of paper. And then obviously that wood grain, it's more of a sticker. It's not even a cardstock paper that I adhered to my card base. I don't know where that came from. I'm sorry. I think it might be from Lawn Fawn or Hero Arts. Maybe it came in a kit, but it's just like a peel off faux veneer wood panel. So put some little glue dots to adhere this to my card now, and then you'll see I'm going to go around and add a couple more little glue dots to hold it down so it's more centered. And then to cover those glue dots that are showing through the vellum, I just went in with some gold gems. And that was it. That's this card. I actually like it better than the original design I had. So you'll have to let me know what you think. I thought it was really, really masculine in that sense. So adding some more distress ink there just to kind of maybe, like I said, make it look more vintage. And then you can wipe off that ink off of your embossing because it's, it's like plastic. So that kind of brings that back out to a shine there. So that's it. That was this card. I think this is actually my favorite card of all of them. And it was such a hassle. I was so upset that everything got ruined, but turns out that I like it more than the other one. So there's the gold gems I wanted to point out, and that was just to kind of cover up those glue dots underneath and almost, make it look like it was what's holding it on. So anyhow, that was that card 2, and we will move on to card 3. Okay, for card 3, I'm going to use these dies that were kind of separate in the kit, that were just the shape of a mountain and some tree line. I'm going to go ahead and bring in a die that was from a Snow Globe number 2 kit from Sizzix and Tim Holtz, just to give me this dome shape. There's the packaging. And I'm going to create a scene of the lock on this card. Again, my card is an A2 size card. So there's the tree line, and then also I'm going to cut out the separate mountain scene there. I'll trim those up and get those stretched across this dome. And then the bottom tree line, I'll just shape that up so it fits properly. I'm using VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I'm stamping out the sentiment that says, "Wish you were here." I thought that went perfect with Nessie. And then I'm going to use some clear heat embossing over the top of that just to seal it. That's generally what I'll do, just so I don't have to wait for ink to dry. And also I like the shiny effect that embossing gives over your sentiments. I'm taking some broken china Distress Oxide ink and just shading around this panel. I'll get my trees and the mountains kind of shaded with a little bit of, I think it's Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide as well. I waited for the ink to kind of dry on the cardstock and then used some Gina K glue to adhere the images to the scene. And I had taken a dotted embossing folder and embossed the front of this card. This was one of the blue papers that came in the kit, but ultimately I thought it looked better on black, so this is just some Michael's black cardstock, and I went with that. Added some foam behind the panel to pop that up, and adhered the black to a light blue card base. I'm using some white Nouveau drops just to add a couple little drops around, and then I'm going to go in with a Prismacolored pencil and just add a little bit of shading in the water around Nessie and also at the base of the water line by the mountains. The Wink of Stella here I'm using is just to add a little bit of shimmer to the tops of the trees and the mountains. I just thought it gave a little nice effect, since this is more of a mystical, image with Nessie. And you might not be able to tell the difference of the pencil, but in person you can. So I'm again just adding a little bit of shading around the base of the mountains there, coming into the lock, and then also some water lines around Nessie just to indicate some movement that she is going through the water. So I really, really like this card. It's probably up there with being one of my favorites out of the 5. So let me know what you think. I thought this one turned out really cute. So for my next card, I just wanted to kind of forewarn you, all of these cards were supposed to be geared towards just making masculine cards. But I really had already made this lighter panel and wanted to use it. So I think if you really wanted this to just be strictly for, you know, a manly masculine card, you could change up the colors very easily and not use the pink. You could do a gradient of a darker blue into the lighter blue. You could change the color of the little grass. Obviously, I did pink. You could do just greens, whatever you wanted. I just really wanted to make an image or a card that was kind of reminding me of, you know, a good guy friend and us always jumping off the dock at the lake, you know, a childhood friend or just a good guy friend in general. That, and a lot of guys do like pink and light colors. So, you know, really it's just up to you. It was more just the concept of the 2 characters jumping off the dock, that this was the, you know, I wanted to use those that came in the kit. And I really, really love the blue mountains there. You know, in all reality, if the mountains were that icy blue, that water would be freezing or frozen. But it's card making, you know, you can do whatever you want. It's imagination and just being artistic, you know. So again, you could change up the colors of any of these images. I kept everything light, stamping the sentiment with the ink that came in the kit. I also added a little bit of broken china, that Oxide, to stamp the sentiment because it's a little bit more solid. But again, with the kids, I kind of did a gradient on all the images, so it would be a lighter tone. And then I went and added some, I think I actually found my tonic glitter pen and added some glitter on the inner tube, a little bit here and there, just to add a little bit more sparkle. And then I used some translucent drops that is in the shade Periwinkle by Nuvo, and added that in there as well for some extra little details in the water. But I love that shine from that embossing powder. So here's the drops, and I'm going to add those in, and that's about it. Again, like I said, you know, use your imagination and just do whatever colors you want. I just really like the 2 characters jumping off the dock. It reminds me of when we were kids, you know, and some good guy friends that are still good guy friends of mine now. So there we go. There's a picture I was trying to show you the shine and had to hold it up. And for the last card, I just cut out a circle out of a white card base, added some blue Oxide inks, splattered it with water to get the drops. I'm using the green mountains that I made at the beginning of this video, and I'll get that adhered with some glue. I'm also going to add a little cattails at the base with some grass. I wish I had placed these a little bit higher so the end effect would have been more, they would have been seen more at the end. But no big deal. Overall, the concept of this card was inspired by my good friend Jude and her using this kit. I will link that video down below. She did all Christmas cards, I believe, and in that video she made some snow globes, so I was really inspired to make a snow globe. And especially after using the die from the snow globe thing from Tim Holtz, this kind of really made me want to do a proper snow globe. I didn't have any acetate, or I would have probably turned this into more of a shaker, but it's just really the concept. Again, go check out her video. I think you'll really be inspired by that. So I added the sentiment and I added a little bass, again, just clear heat embossing over those things. And then I took some just markers to add a little bit more shading, matching the shades of green and browns on the cattails. Again, they didn't show up too much once I added the base of the snow globe, but you know, again, I thought overall the concept is there. So you'll have to let me know what you think. I added some more sparkle to the top of the mountain and to the grass, and that was it. So the card base that I had cut this circle out of, I just went ahead and grabbed some pattern paper. Now this, you could have stamped Merry Christmas or whatever sentiment you wanted, depending on if you want it to be more geared towards Christmas, or let's say you're even doing a card for fall. You could change up your pattern paper. So the inside of this card is going to have to be covered. So I chose for the plaid to be what the recipient would see when they open the card, but you could very easily turn around and have a different image, showing on the inside of the card. So it could be a Christmas pattern paper, a fall pattern paper, whatever you wanted it to be, if that makes sense. So I'm adding this to my card. This is basically the card base now. We needed the pattern paper there just to fill the spot. Now again, if I had acetate, I would have made it a shaker, but now I'm going to add some supports and add a little piece of this wood paper that I had and make the base of the snow globe. And that's really about it. I'm going to go and add some sparkle and stickles drops all over, but there you can see the cattails don't really show too much. So that was what I was talking about. But I really wanted it to look like a snow globe, so I added this sparkle everywhere. So it kind of gave the impression of it being a globe and kind of water. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found some inspiration or ideas in this video. Please leave a like and subscribe if you're not. And thank you again for your time. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye.